afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, and welcome to a new edition of Urban Sentinel Live. Tonight is Tuesday night. I'm your host, Reggie Kearney, and I'm here we're just going to chop it up for a little while, looking at current events and maybe some future events. I got with me tonight my producer, Mark, and hopefully Richard will come on later. But right now, we're just going to go and get started ourselves. Been out a couple of weeks, but I'm back. So
Back, you dealing with some health stuff. I know other people have been dealing with health stuff as well. I was actually at the Eno, which is our big festival that's over there at the Eno State Park. So I was out there in the heat on Friday and Saturday, and it was definitely some hot weather out there. And then we had some rain come through, and there might be some more rain coming through. But the big news in the current affairs is that apparently the big beautiful bill, is what he calls it, has been passed, and they're saying that a lot of people are going to be impacted in terms of their benefits, whether that's stuff around elderly care or whether that's stuff around groceries or whether that's a number of other things. But he doesn't care. But I was watching, I think I was looking at something, and they broke down state by state what would happen and everything based on what state you lived in, how much you would be impacted. And everybody was getting impacted. North Carolina had tens of thousands of people, might even been hundreds of thousands of people
right
were going to be impacted. I think it was like probably close to 1 million or something in California and some of the bigger states like Texas and New York. But he wanted it passed, and he got it passed. The big beautiful bill.
I call it big ugly bill. Hey, look, while I'm thinking about it, when you get a chance, go in and change the header date to July the 8th.
I will do that. I can do that as we're talking. By the way, Rich is here. I don't see him on camera, but he is in the background and all along those lines. So we can always do that editing thing, and we can change it to July the 8th.
Yeah, because YouTube is showing July the 8th, but the header is showing June the 24th.
Right. We can change that and everything.
But the Eno River did y'all in the last couple of days, man.
Yeah, it was nice though. Like I said, it was some good hot weather, but it was a fun time had by all. It was definitely interesting seeing people in their river best, because even though it's hot, people, and it was both sisters and some of the other ethnic groups as well, they were in there getting their bathing suits on. But I did see something that was unusual, and I was talking about that on some of the other shows, because they have vendors. There was one year that they actually had the Democrats and the Republicans vending and kind of like going at each other and everything like that, because they have different organizations. I think that one of them Asian martial arts and meditation groups was there one year, and they didn't see them that I can recall this year, but the snake people were there, and they were showing the snakes and the turtles and things along those lines. So a lot of the things that are regularly there, including some great music, including the African American Dance Ensemble. But a new venue that was there that kind of threw people off, because even the young folks were going like, what is in swell or in swell? But there was actually a booth there that was trying to get people to understand that we will all leave this planet at some point or another. So it was a crematorium that was there vending, and they were actually prominent to one of the main stages. And they weren't there the full time on day one, but they were there, I think, pretty much the whole time on day two and everything like that. But you see young people going, and you're going like, hopefully y'all are gonna be here a lot longer than y'all think y'all are gonna be here, and y'all gonna need those services. But with some of the crazy things going on in the world, there ain't no telling. They might be planning a future of despair and all along those lines.
But people are doing more. They say that casket barrels are way down. They say cremation is going sky high.
Wow.
Because it's cheaper, man. You can get a cremation for $2,000-$3,000 versus going for casket for anywhere from 10,000 on up.
Right.
And everything. So I mean, I don't know, man. Undertakers have, because of markups on caskets, they have made a killing over the years. And they matter face it, it's their reality. It's their reality. I got a cousin down in Greenville, North Carolina. Shoot, he clocking about five funerals a week, man.
Wow. And then they had something else that I never heard of, because this company was talking about something called aquation. So I guess it would be basically burying you in the ocean or burying you in the sea or something like that. I do know that there have been people that have wanted to be buried at oceanfront or even have their ashes thrown in the ocean. But it sounds to me like this was actually, you were actually in the ocean. It's called aquation. So it was similar to cremation, which we know is by fire, but I guess this is a way that you can be buried underneath the water.
Hey man, float your boat, go for it. Look, we don't know what happens after you die, so you don't know if you're gonna know anything about it anyway.
You know, that was interesting. I went yesterday and I overheard a young couple, it was a young white couple that were talking, and they were actually having that conversation because part of what they were saying was this notion of what happens as you go on and everything. So they were trying to figure out whether you are actually going to the heaven gates or whether you come back in that whole notion of reincarnation. Because I got the impression, I only heard part of their conversation, that I think the young lady believed in the notion that she might have been here before and maybe she had to learn a lesson and come back to correct whatever she did not learn the first time around and everything like that. But I did hear them having that conversation in one of the local pizza joints and everything like that. But it was fascinating that they were going in that particular direction. Like you said, you don't know and everything, because I actually had an interesting theory, and maybe Richard's got a similar theory and everything like that. But if there are 8 million souls in the world and everything like that, and all along those lines, but does that mean that, because you know there was a time that there were only 4 million souls, or let's say 3 million or 2 million souls, because population is steadily increased through time and everything. Does that mean, if you believe in reincarnation, that there are newer souls and then there are souls that come back in a second time? So there's like two classes of souls. There are the newer souls and there's the souls that have been repeat customers because they might have been here before, anything like that. Because if just the logic of it would make sense, if you're increasing your population and there's a limited amount of people, then you've got to have other people. So like I said, that's just my mathematical thoughts. I don't know if you got any philosophical thoughts on that, or we can bring in Richard. Maybe he's got some thoughts on that as well.
I'll tell you, I ain't got a whole lot of thoughts on this, man. I got here one way or the other. I don't know if I've been here before or not. Don't seem like it, so I don't know.
Oh, boy. And you might not want to, and you know, there might be people that are regretting that they are here. I know one of the things we talked about, and I know we brought it up on this show before, is there are a lot of young people, Richard, that are frustrated by the way of the world and all like that. And some of them are refusing to have young people. They're refusing to have babies. They might still be doing the acts that can lead to the babies, but they're trying to stop from having the children because they don't know that they want the children to be in the world that we are currently in and everything, whether that's with climate change, whether that's with pollution, whether that's with Trump in office, whether that's with continual wars and famine. You got famine in Sudan, you got wars in Ukraine and Russia, you got wars in Israel and everything like that. So I know that I don't have any kids of my own, but I do have my 2 nephews, and I don't think that my brother is rushing for them to have kids of their own. Now, if they have kids of their own, we'll deal with it at that particular time, but I don't think he's rushing for them to have kids because of what they are facing in the world. So what's your thought about this, Richard? Are you finding that some of your young compatriots in Jacksonville are going like, nah, I ain't trying to have no children?
I don't think it's a conscious decision to not have children. I think the not having children is a side effect of something else that they are doing. They're not forming relationships. They're not getting outside of their community. They're, locked on social media. They rather scroll social media than scroll through the community or scroll. We used to have when I grew up in the 60s and the 70s, and you went to school, you went to the church, you went to the club, or you went to the library. And it was like one of those 4 areas: the school, church, the club, or the library. You're going to meet somebody. I met my wife on the set of a movie. We were both extras, and I asked her to go out. That first, like, hey, well, can we connect, go out sometime? She said, you can meet me at the library. And our first date was literally at the library because she wasn't having it. She wasn't trying to. But my very first date with my wife was at the library. And I think I got married in 96, started dating in 95. Right. And ironically, around 90, somewhere between 95 and 2001, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, all these social media things came up, and that generation, the younger generation, meeting somebody at an event and forming a relationship, that's gone. And with that gone, you're not going to get to the point of having a relationship to have a baby. Yeah. Now, I will say this, that there are young women who get married and they postpone having the baby because they want to get the, you know, 6-figure salary first, and then they want to have babies. Or that's another, it's a double-edged sword. So you got the ones that are doing it from a societal standpoint, and then you got those that are doing it thinking that they're being strategic, freezing their eggs and all this other stuff. But me personally, and I'm beginning to see it, I think there's more of an awakening, a renewing of the mind, a transformation that's taking place by those who are renewing their, getting up to a higher level of thinking. I don't know how much y'all spend on online, social media wise, but you know, I'm 65 years old, and I wish I could say, you know, I'm retiring, but my career forces me to keep learning what the next new thing is. So as a marketing consultant, I can't say, you know, oh man, I wish they could bring back the days of the yellow page ads. You know, when I got into marketing, it was to sell yellow page ads in the phone book in 1982, 83. And I went from yellow page to radio to internet to everything has evolved, but the process is the same. But if I don't evolve with it, I'm going to get left behind. So I've been forced to keep learning and to study trends. And one of the major trends that I see is people are connecting more vibrationally. There's more talk about higher level connection and manifestation. And I mean, there are people putting it out there. I truly believe that's what we're doing. We're evolving.
But speaking of that evolving and everything like that, just quickly, because, you know, you mentioned the selling of the yellow pages, and I remember even, I think when I was in college at Marquette in the 80s, doing like some encyclopedia selling. I think I even tried one time the whole vacuum cleaner thing and all along those lines. But some of these things that, you know, there's this whole notion there's nothing really new under the sun and everything like that. So while Facebook is social media and everything, social media has been out there for a while. I literally remember, and I'm sure that Reggie remembers it as well. I know you do as also the 1-800 numbers or the 1-900 numbers. There would be the number that would be the social numbers where you would be able to get a date or along those lines. And there was all kinds of those kind of systems and the telephone lines that were the hotlines and everything. So that's just a more archaic version of what Facebook is now and everything like that.
Exactly. And so what happens is, Madam Cleo, you know, call me now, right? Mm-hmm. Or the one that everybody remembers this commercial, brother at the end say, "No, my brother, you got to get your own." Mm-hmm. You know, because he had an album or sometime, you know, some album he had and his friend wanted to borrow. He ended the commercial with, "No, my brother, you got to get your own." Well, we got Amazon streaming music and Spotify, but it's still music that's being listened to that somebody produced, and it's just a different way to deliver it. If you go back 2,000 years, maybe even 5,000 years, I think the Greeks invented the marketplace 3,500 years ago. So what that means is before they invented the marketplace, which of course the Egyptians had marketplaces long before that, right? But the modern day marketplace attributed to the Greeks about 3,500 years ago, which means farmers used to be scattered all over the place. And the Greeks came up with this wonderful idea. Hey, why don't you farmers bring your stuff to one place to sell, and merchants, you bring your stuff to sell, and then we'll invite all the people to come and buy. And that created the modern day marketplace. 3,500 years later, we still got the same thing. Mm-hmm. We are, again, we're evolving. and things are changing. Artificial intelligence is helping it out. What I haven't seen is artificial intelligence help out in the dating game. I have yet to see an artificial dating app. Now, I'll tell you this. I wish I could play it for you guys, but there is this app. You take your photo and just a regular static photo of you just standing there, load it into the app, and it's like a fake girlfriend, a fake boyfriend. It'll have you moving, hugging, and kissing a fake girlfriend, and all you did was upload a photograph. So,
but AI gonna get a lot of people in trouble, or gonna give a lot of people false hope. Mm-hmm. Because some people are really embracing it to the point where they are going to have false hope.
Yeah,
because of the way they embrace it and everything. So, I mean, we got to really work at training our young people what benefits they can get from AI without having AI turn them into a robot and everything. You were talking about earlier about the 1-800, 1-900 numbers and stuff. Right. Miss Cleo and all that. Them guys made some money, okay?
Yeah.
Them guys were ahead of that time. I'm pretty sure, if they saved that money correctly, because they probably knew this wasn't going to be a long-term thing. Some of them probably made, triple-figure millions, because people were jumping on, especially that one late night when you could call to get a date or get somebody to talk to and all that kind of stuff. They were making some money. Then you got MySpace and all them things came up, so
hey, Richard and Reddy, I got bad news for you because I just did a search and everything, and yes, there are AI dating apps and everything. So there's literally, I typed it up and everything. There's one down here that I've just pulled up called, and they give different titles, but one that has got the title of Iris Dating, Find Love with AI apps on Google Play. So you literally can go find a date on use AI, and then there's
can you see? I don't know if they show when the app was produced or when it was uploaded, but it's probably relatively new. But yeah, I'm not in the dating game. The apps trying to, as they start reconnecting people, I think we may see. Let me first give you my take on AI. I get that everybody is saying that AI is going to replace workers, but AI will not replace a barber. AI is not going to replace, certainly AI ain't going to replace a dentist. You ain't going to have no robot up in your mouth, messing around with your teeth. So there's certain jobs that are perfectly safe, but I think that people are looking at it the wrong way when they talk about AI replacing jobs, and they're not looking at AI causing a shift that's going to create new jobs. Everybody, Henry Ford was AI, and he introduced his car and he lowered it. He lowered it to the price to where the employee could afford it, and that was the first time a company had really done that, because prior to the employee being able to afford it, the mindset was the worker was always lower doing work for the wealthy. So the maid would come and clean a house that she could never afford to live in, right? And so that was the thing, is that the working class was always serving the higher class. And then Henry Ford raised the employee's salary, lowered the cost of the car enough, and for the first time, the salary matched what the worker was producing, and the worker himself could use that thing. And that the same thing has happened with AI. ChatGPT, OpenAI, gave everybody AI. There's no class thing now. So just like automobiles rushed in and everybody's got a car now, yes, it pushed the horse and buggy business off everywhere. Everybody got the horse now. And if you were to tell somebody back in the early 1900s, I know right now your house is really small, but you keep your horse in a barn. but there will come a day that your transportation will sleep in the same house as you. Like, what do you mean my transportation will sleep in the same house as me? They could not have imagined. I got a 2-car garage. And
Yeah, like you said, yeah, the whole garage, the horse was over there in the barn and everything like that. So yeah, they were not.
my 2 cars take up more space than my garage. Technically, I'm like, my cars are sleeping nice every night, right? So the idea that AI coming in is going to disrupt is going to be a bad thing. On the reverse side, here's where I think AI is going to really hurt. There will be no need for a CEO of $1 million corporation justifying his salary at $43 million. Those days are, that's what AI is going to destroy. And those CEOs, they're not talking about it. That's why I believe that's why Trump did this big beautiful bill, because them people told him he needed to get this thing signed. Trump didn't write. Trump don't even know what's in that bill. He just signed it. But what they did is they did that big money grab because the days of multi-billion-dollar, trillion-dollar companies are over. And I'll just say this real quick. There's 5 companies, 6 companies. I can't remember the 6th one. I'm going to pull it up while you guys talk. But there are 6 companies. Microsoft, Apple, Google, I think it's Facebook. That was the 6th one. Facebook, Berkshire Hathaway, and there's another company. But the 6 companies are worth $14 trillion collective, an average almost $2 trillion each. People hear the word trillion and they don't know what a trillion is. To get to a million, you got to count 1,000 times. Then you count a million 1,000 times and you get to a billion. Now count a billion 1,000 times and you get to trillion, and do that twice. And you get to those companies 14 times. There is so much money up there at the top. It's going to all come tumbling down. And I think that the AI is going to be a major part of why that changes. And I think the last time we talked about the fact that over the next 20 years is going to be the greatest wealth transfer ever. So,
speaking of that wealth transfer, because part of the reason we didn't do the event last Tuesday was actually my birthday, and I actually went to hang out with some friends.
Well, happy belated.
That are, thank you, activists and all along those lines, because they were having a dinner, not for my birthday, but just kind of like a networking event. And one of the things that the organizer, who was a filmmaker friend of mine, was talking about was this notion of being prepared for chaos, because she had people shifting to meet each other and doing kind of like that speed networking kind of thing. And all along those lines. And one of the things that she talked about was this notion of, are we ready for chaos? And if we're not ready for chaos, how can we be ready for chaos? And she was even having this notion that a lot of us are not prepared to deal with our day-to-day groceries if the grocery chain gets cut off. So she was definitely advocating that more people grow their own gardens and have their own food, because she is fearful that some of the things that are taking place could be disruptive to this class situation, particularly to those that are poor or lower middle class. So I just wondered y'all's thoughts around that. Does she have a legitimate concern, and do we need to have more people that are able to take care of their own, whether that's knitting their own clothes or whether that's taking care of their own grocery needs, and the sense of having a garden in the old way that we used to?
Well, one of the things you got to realize, I mean, she makes a valid point, but most people don't know how to grow anything. Most people can't even grow a flower at home, okay? So how are you going to task them with going out and making a small garden on a piece of land that could benefit their household, okay? It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen because so few people grow gardens now. Now, I grew up in an atmosphere, where we had gardens. My grandfather had a farm. My father had gardens. And so I know how to go out there and dig up some land and hoe it up and plant some seeds and, water it every day and get some food out of it, okay? But how many people really look in the inner city? How many people really know that? Now, going back to something else we were talking about with AI, and how it's going to create a generational wealth transfer, we are missing out on it. Mm-hmm. Our kids are going to miss out on this. This is the one time that we have the opportunity to set our kids up for success and allow them to be millionaires because of AI. Okay? Now we got to realize Google and Microsoft and those guys, they're going to control AI and how it's developed. But we can come up on the second leg and teach our kids how to use it to benefit themselves, to make money from it. And I haven't heard nobody talk about that point, by going out into the communities and having workshops, along with STEM and everything. I think I did see an article, but I didn't read. I might not have read it, but it was talking about how, STEM and AI need to be said in the same breath. Mm-hmm. And that's what we got to move to. We got to hook our kids up now. Now, I mean, I'm probably going to miss out on the AI generational wealth transfer, but I can get out here and show kids how to use it and move them along.
Well, when I say we have to evolve, and this is going to be a tough transition. We have been indoctrinated in the fact that everything that you do must make a profit, that you got to make money doing it. And if you're not making money doing it, it's not worth doing. And because everybody feels that way, the one or two or three people who think differently, they get crushed or taken advantage of. And I'm one of those. I believe, and I don't think it's socialism or anything else like that. There is no reason on God's earth for any one human being to be worth $200 billion. None. We could have devised, in fact, we did have systems that were in place to make certain that never happened. The taxes above $1 million or whatever it was back in, right up until Reagan's era, was like 65 to 95%. And even when the taxes were 65, 95%, you still had Rockefellers and Carnegies and the robber barons who were making all the money, and taxes were crazy, but they were still wealthy. And that's because that money just kept looping back around to them, and they had control. They controlled the railroads, they controlled the oil, they controlled the electricity. So they were monopolized, and monopolizing made them rich in spite of the fact that the taxes were. So what the federal government did was lower the taxes and allow the monopoly to be even bigger. Now we got these big corporations, and nobody is thinking about the common good. But we're going to be forced to think that way. So no, I don't think that the answer to chaos is going to be going on in Continental Garden. I remember clearly right around the pandemic, you would go to the grocery store and the shelves were empty. Or at the very least, the boxes were sitting in the middle of the aisle and there were no employees there because the employees were out sick. There was nobody to put it up on the shelf. And I told my wife, I said, we've got about 3 weeks worth of food in the pipeline. That if the system was to break down totally, every store shelf would be empty in less than 3 weeks. And that then is the chaos. When everybody started fighting because they ain't got nothing, and the only thing we know to do is fight. The evolution is going to happen. And I'm doing it right now. It's going to happen when we start building community. Is it possible for me to put in a chat a link? We have a school community. There's a new platform called School, SKOOL. And what it does, it allows you to, let me see if it's, nope. Let me get that.
If you put it in the chat, I can make a banner out of it. So you said it's SKOOL?
Yeah, SKOOL School, but I got to give you the actual address so that you can see it. Hold on 1 second. I think my voice is going to cut off as I go find this link. Hold on a second.
Did his voice cut off?
I can't tell. I can't tell if he's frozen or what. I think he's frozen.
He may be frozen because I know he was.
Yeah, I know. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to jump over and find that link. You guys can talk. I'll go find it. I'll be right back.
Okay.
All right.
Well, like I said, we really got to look at how do we make our young people, how we help our young people take advantage of AI.
Right.
And I think that's the biggest step we're missing, is doing that. And let them get some of this money. I mean, white kids shouldn't have all the fun.
No, that's true. They got to have some spread the joy and spread some of the love. So
yeah,
they don't have just all the fun to themselves.
Yeah, I mean, you find there are more people now becoming entrepreneurs than ever. Excuse me, they're leaving the workforce.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're trying to create their own wealth and create their own opportunities for themselves, and not to be dependent on the 8 to 5 corporate world. And that's what they're doing. So things are changing. But I don't see us in the black community grasping a hold to it like we should be. I don't know. That's because we're not motivated, or what, but we're not
motivated. Or that some people are afraid to take risks because there is definitely sometimes people that are risk adverse and they are afraid to leap out there, afraid that they will be the ones that aren't successful. So there are definitely folks that are risk adverse. I'm wondering if that's part of the problem is that we got too many people that are risk adverse and don't want to take the chance and everything like that. I actually met earlier today with a brother that's got a 900 member group, and that's part of what they're trying to do is learn the history of like Black Wall Street, but also some of the black businesses and connect some of the black organizations that are. One of the things that I get frustrated by is there are a number of organizations that are out there, but even if they are organizations that should be like-minded, they don't talk to each other enough. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know that in Florida, y'all probably where Richard is, and even in D.C., Maryland, area where you are, you probably have the Black engineers, the Black doctors associations, the Black journalists associations, some of the social groups like the Links and the Eastern Star and stuff like that. But I sometimes wonder how much of those people talk to each other, even though if they actually got together and unified, that would be a massive kind of program if there was some actual unity. And I think that's part of what this gentleman, Merrick, is trying to do is find ways to have folks work together.
Mm-hmm.
Well, what you mentioned earlier about the group, I posted that link. And what I want to point out is how, I mean, this will take a long conversation, but I always use the example of Levi jeans. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows Levi jeans. I think it's like a $50 billion company or something. It may be 5 or 50 billion, not exactly certain. But the reason why Levi jeans was started was because of the 1849 gold rush. Right. People from all over the world were coming to California to find gold, and they were coming with the, fancy suits on and tearing up their clothes as they're digging. And Levi Strauss realized he could make pants out of the same material that the tents were made out of that was very sturdy. So he made the pants. There ain't no more gold in them their heels. But guess what's still selling today over 100 years later? Or nearly, over 100 years later. Levi Strauss pants. My point is, the people who make the real money during the gold rush are not those who find the gold. It's those who sell the tools to those who are looking for the gold. And so we don't make that shift. We're not tool makers. Black people are not. We can create a nice song. We can create a nice line dance. Everybody's where the fans at all over the country. But where's a tool that we can create And we've done it. We got the creativity. There are plenty of black people that have some amazing patents. But when you look at black folk today, we're not creators, we're consumers. And that's the evolution that I'm talking about. We are going to evolve to become creators. And then we can take these tools and stop letting them come to us and selling us an individual tool. Like you get a pair of Levi jeans, and you get a pair of Levi jeans, you get a pair, and all you want is Levi jeans. No, we need to get one tool that everybody can use, and that's why I put that community. I think the school community app is powerful because it lets individual coaches set up their own community. I'm using it different. So I created a school community to bring other coaches. Now, here I am, where I could use this thing to build up my 6-7 figure income just like every other coach that's out there. But what am I thinking? I'm thinking I would rather build up other coaches along with me. Okay, I don't become worth $200 billion and everybody's broke, and I may not make more than 50 million. I'm happy if I can clear $500,000 a year. I'm good. I don't need more than that. I don't need to be trying to elect a president that's going to lower my taxes to help me make more than $500,000 a year. I am good to make $500,000. Now, imagine if we've got 1 million brothers out there who just make $500,000, but we all working together and we're pushing that wealth down to somebody else and bringing them up. So I'll give you my example is I'm creating this community. I've created it. It costs $49 a month to join. You bring in one person, you get 40% of that. So you got 3 people into the group and you're making $58 and it only costs you $49. I tell my clients, how many times do you want to spend $49 to get $58? And you better tell me every time you get a chance, as many times as you can, because now you understand what's called a profit margin is. If you can make $2, $3, $4 by spending $50, and spend it as fast as you can so you can make that profit as fast as you can. I'd love to connect with that brother that you talked about with 900 people in this group.
He's got good people, and I definitely can put you in touch with him and everything, like I said, because he's here in North Carolina, and I think he's in the state capital of Raleigh and everything like that. So, like I said, just had about an hour and a half meeting with him, just learning about teaching him about the history of Black Wall Street and everything. But I do have a question for you, Richard. Part of what happens is that, and maybe Reggie's got some thoughts around this as well, is that too often we don't even acknowledge the greatness that we've had, because you mentioned the market that was in Egypt and everything like that. And one of the quotes that I believe it was W.E.B. Du Bois, I think it was Booker T. Washington, I think it was W.E.B. Du Bois had, that is at the Hatat Center and everything. But he talked about the fact that there was a time that we lived mattresses and everything like that. We didn't have to go to CERTA. We were building our own mattresses. And because even to Reggie's point about gardening, how many people do you know that could actually create their own mattress in this modern day time and not have to go to like CERTA or that guy that's a Trump supporter and everything to create their mattress and all along those lines, because we don't know how to create those things. And even some of the, because I remember when I was in high school in the late 70s and everything, there were people that were learning auto mechanics and there were people that were learning brick masonry and things like that. And I don't know how popular those fields are now, but I do know that those people make a decent amount of money. And there was even a black brick mason back in the, I think, early 1900s, Mr. Fitzgerald, that did the bricks both at the Hayti, but he also did a lot of the bricks at Duke University campus and everything. He created his own style of bricks. It was called a Fitzgerald brick and everything like that. But we have those folks that are getting that recognition, and our young people even acknowledging some of these greats that came before them and everything like that.
Yeah, it's within us. Mm-hmm. Again, it's going to take a cultural shift first. Then it's going to cultural, meaning the thing that's shaping within you. I mean, culture is a small group of people. Mm-hmm. Then you get culture to create community, and then community goes to colonies, and colonies is a large group of people, like a colony of ants. But the colonization is to take a large group of people and bring them in. That's what Europeans were doing. There, 3 or 4 white boys can show up with guns and bullets and germs and take over, 10,000 people. There's one of the islands, I can't remember what it was, but they were talking about there were 15 million people on the island or something like that when white folks showed up. And within a couple of years, they're down to 500,000 because they killed them all off. And so we don't have those forces working against us anymore. We don't have to wait when we go from culture to community and then community to colony. We don't have to worry that the colonization is to the negative. The colonization is the next step before you build a kingdom. And if you come down, which is how we got where we are, we started off with kings and kingdoms. And then the colonizers said, we want to share. Then the colonizers created their own white communities, and now we're down to culture. But what are we doing in the culture wars? Stop woke, get rid of DEI, all of those things because we're at the culture phase. And this is the battle that we need to fight. We need to develop our culture. We need to emphasize our culture. We need to cultivate. And we can do that without saying what we should do. And I'm here in Florida, in Jacksonville, and everybody in Duval County knows that I am the guy that works with teaching children to play music in preschool. There was no program for my daughter when she wanted to pick a violin to give a violin to all of her classmates, and so that they could learn to play violin while she was learning to play kindergarten. So my wife and I started a program. And then we found that there was no music teacher in our community teacher. So we created a program to teach. And now, almost 23 years later, the program I started back in 2008 when I was at the Sentinel is now in 11 different elementary schools, and it should be in 11 different counties that they're mismanaging. But my point is that I did not wait for somebody to come and say, what we should be doing. I did it. And there needs to be, it doesn't have to be a lot of us doing that. But what does need to happen is when you do see a brother that's out there and he's powerful enough to pull together 900 people, give him enough help to pull together 1,800. Jump up there with him and give him more. But no, what do we do? We go, well, how can I get me on? How can I get my own group of mine? I don't need it. If you got it, I don't need it. As long as you give me access to it. If you give me access to your group, if you can have access to capital, you don't need capital.
Well, and that's a good point you made. Okay, so first of all, you got to have a leader, someone who's going to lead this initiative. But the second thing you brought up is capital.
Yeah.
We need to figure out a way to develop our pools of capital. I mean, and that's another area we're lacking in. Well, because we can't go to the banks. It's hard to go to the banks, even with a good credit score, even if you have a good product, because a lot of times these white boys don't want to loan you the money. Okay, and then that's just the bottom line of it. They want to stop you right dead in your tracks, and not do it. So then we got to develop ways to we got to figure out a mechanism to develop capital.
Guys, listen. Everything you all are talking is what I've been working on. Right. I'm sitting in I got an office set up in my bedroom, so a little workstation here. So that's what I've been working on these last 3 weeks. I own the trademark. Sentinel Mobile is my tech company. But the trademark, if you were to go and research Richard Cuff, just pull up trademark Richard Cuff Cultural Capital Marketplace, and you'll see that I own the trademark for Sentinel Mobile Cultural Capital Marketplace. I was working in 2012, President Obama passed the Jobs Act, and this is where we need to focus. The Jobs Act said no longer could Wall Street be the only entity that you go to get capital beyond the bank. Wall Street and the Securities and Exchange Commission held an monopoly. In 2012, President Obama signed the Jobs Act that allowed groups to come together as if they were one and form one company and pool their investments. So 1,000 people could now put $2,000 together, and that's $2 million that they could invest as if they were one investment. But we don't use that. We say Barack Obama didn't do nothing for us when he was in office. Not only did that brother create that tool, that would not be a Robinhood. The Robinhood app came out in 2013. President Obama signed the Jobs Act in 2012, which made it possible for the Robinhood to sell stock that wasn't being sold on Wall Street. And nobody credits President Obama. So we're in a position now where we can exchange capital, but we can't do it as traditional colonial capital that we've been dealing with up to this point. The colonial capital is what we've had for the last 400 years. Community capital is what you talk about, that they don't want us to get to, right? Because they got capital in their community, but we're not a part of their community. So we went from kingdom capital to colonial capital, then we went to community capital, and now we're at cultural capital. But there's no infrastructure at the cultural capital level because we got to build it. So I'm building the cultural capital marketplace, but somebody else may come along and build something else. And then I need people like you, Mark, and other people who say, okay, I don't have 5 million, but I got 5,000. And I get 1,000 people to come in and now you guys are invested in an app, a marketplace to get off the ground, and then we invest in other marketplaces. So we can definitely talk. I'm about getting to work for 2 reasons. Number one, I've been working on this for a long time. And number two, I ain't got that much longer on earth. I can see the stop sign is up ahead, and I'm gonna have to get off this train soon. But I think that we're in a perfect position to begin to do the things that you guys are talking about on this podcast on a regular basis. But what we got to do now is the work needs to happen when this thing signs off. That's when we got to get to work.
You know, why should Amazon have all the fun?
Absolutely. Now, you know what? Good that you mentioned that, because I'm sorry, you just sparked something else. I know we're heading up on an hour here. But are you guys familiar with what Web3 is all about?
Yeah, I know some people that are involved in Web3, some people that are like tied into the metaverse and stuff like that. So I got some friends that are in that space.
Okay, so let me break it down. For those of you who remember AOL and the dial up, that crazy sound that it made, and you got mail, and that was Web 1 was read only. But that was huge because what that did was it got rid of the yellow pages and it got rid of the map. Before that, we used to have to go to the yellow pages, find the address, and then go buy a map and map out the route to get to that place, or call them for directions and hope you don't get lost along the way. Then the internet came out, and suddenly a business could put their address and their hours and everything on there, and then they had this thing called MapQuest that would map out the route for you. That was Web 1 because all you could do was read it. Web 2 comes along, and it was read and write. But Jeff Bezos saw Web 2 being developed, and he said the statistics were people were coming into Web 2 at like 2,300% increase every year, and they projected that there would be at least a 2,300% every year for the next 10 years. That's how many people would be getting onto the internet. And he's like, oh my God, I gotta do something. And Amazon was a non-profit organization for 20 years, but it has dominated for the last 30 years. So now Web3 is read, write, and own. Because in Web 2, when I go on to Amazon and read, Amazon owns all that data. Facebook owns the data. And that's why you can go to Amazon and search for shoes and go to Facebook, and there's all these ads for shoes on Facebook, which you just search, because they're selling your data back and forth. In Web 3, You own the data. So that means everybody will have a digital wallet. And that digital wallet is what allows you to do tokens and all the things that you were talking about other people are doing. But you can sell tokens, you can sell Bitcoin, you can do, I'm having a contract dispute right now, but you can do smart contracts. All of those things go back and forth on Web3, and nobody owns the data. So it's primarily blockchain, AI, and crypto finance, but it's all owned by you. And the company that comes out at this particular moment will dominate the world 10, 15 years from now, because Amazon is Web2, and it's not going to survive in Web3 the same way AOL didn't survive Web2. So AOL is Web1, it didn't survive 2. Amazon is Web2, and it won't survive 2. They're trying to, but they are way too big. They have to reconfigure everything in order to do Web2. So new companies are coming out, and the playing field is level for the first time. It's level. We can't blame it on racism. We can't blame it on anything. If they ain't gonna ride up, I ain't your grandpa's Negro. You ain't gonna come riding up from here. You're gonna burn this thing down.
Richard, you say the playing field is level, but the last time I checked, there are major players that are in that crypto space that are using it at their own advantage. Because one of the major players is that Orange Man, because he has his own cryptocurrency and all along those lines. So, what do you say to the folks that are seeing the Orange Man exploiting the crypto space as well? Because
Start your own crypto. Why has the Black church not started a cryptocurrency?
Right.
There is church ain't gonna start no cryptocurrency.
Well, then you can't. Listen, the playing field is level, but if your lazy behind is sitting on the sidelines, you can't blame Donald Trump because he got out there and started his own currency, and you can't blame Donald Trump because he knows the people that he's talking to are stupid. He looked them straight in the face and say, "I love poorly educated. I love you," and he's just ripping them off. Every time he gets a chance to sell something, he's going to do it. But that's just the way it is. Why don't you get out there? I'm not saying I'm going to get out there and rip people off, but what I'm saying is it's the same process that Donald Trump went to start, and that's called a meme coin, meaning it's a joke. It's a joke. It's not real. It's not backed by anything. The technology was just supposed to be a coin that a few friends could use between each other for a joke. But Trump started it because he knew that his crazy behind people would get behind it, not understanding what it is, which is why only maybe 8 or 12, maybe as many as 8. It's either 80. I don't think it's even 80. It may be 20, somewhere in there, but a very few people made money on that coin. The rest are losing money. But the media is not covering it because they're going to cover Trump's behind the same way they erased the Epstein files because his name is on it.
Yeah, they definitely erased those files and everything. Yeah. I think his son did make a bunch of money. The younger son, Byron, and everything. I think.
They're running the crypto business, but it's when I say the playing field is level, the same technology that allowed the Orange Man to start his own cryptocurrency, we can do the exact same thing. Only thing, Reggie, I'll disagree with you is I have a process where when you're visualizing something, it's really important to not touch it with negatives and say what people are not going to do. Jesus said to Mary when he came out of the tomb, "Touch me not, for I have not yet ascended." What he was saying is, don't come bringing to me your attitude, but right now I am pure as can be, and I'm trying to ascend. So what I do is I don't have people in my circle when I am pitching a vision. I want people to make it bigger. Tell me something that I haven't seen. Show me another angle that I can look at it. But if you got somebody on your team, the moment you say, we could go and start our own coin, and the very first thing out their mouth is, they ain't going to let us do that. You got the wrong people on your team. And
but you know the church, you can't even get the church to go out in the community and do mission.
Then I'll start a new church.
You know, they won't even go out. Listen, they won't even go out there and they won't even go out there and give a person a hot dog.
Upon this rock, I will build my church. Then that church needs to fall into the fiery furnace and be burned off, I will not use a lazy church as the excuse for me not doing what God has planted in my heart to do. Mm-hmm. Yes, we got enough stuff, and that's why black folk can't get anywhere, because we're beating our own ass with our own sticks.
Yeah, we do beat ourselves with our own sticks. I know we're winding down, but there was a whole style of church that was very popular. When I was talking to America, I was actually talking about this church as well, and it was very popular in North Carolina, it's popular in Virginia, it's popular in Texas. As a matter of fact, one of the ministers I think recently got in trouble. So if there were the Reverend Ikes and the T.D. Jakes and the people at like the Upper Room and Mount Fozard Church, Mount Zion, and stuff like that were part of prosperity ministry. I guess what I don't understand is if the technology is there and if the ability is there, why haven't the prosperity churches got into the crypto space as well? Because that's what they're all about. They're about building wealth and everything like that. So
because it's decentralized. See, that's what people don't understand is the crypto space doesn't require trust. It doesn't require an overlord. It doesn't require a central office. It doesn't require somebody to pass the plate. You put it in the plate, and then they got to go take it in the back room and count it. If you were to introduce crypto into the church, it would destroy the office and jobs, and because that money is transferred direct, and you can see where it goes. And it's an open ledger. So that means in order for me to put money into your wallet, you got to open your wallet and let me see what's in it. For that reason, the church ain't trying to do nothing crypto, because they got to open up their wallet too.
Okay, look, before we close, I got this one thing here. There's a young black lady, I think she's in Atlanta, I know she's in the South, who has started a gasoline delivery service. Okay. You can buy a subscription from her, and she will deliver your gas for your cars directly to your house. Okay. She makes her money off of the subscription. And she's got a small markup in the gas. And what she's trying to do is stay competitive with the service stations, the brick and mortar service stations. Okay. But a lot of people are hooking up to her because we get lazy. And so it's easy to just have somebody bring the gas by the house, and fill your car up for you. And I thought it was a very unique idea. But the thing is, she's got to figure out a way to patent that idea, because if she don't, the distributors of gasoline, they're going to come up with the same idea. They're going to go out and buy them a bunch of trucks and start doing the same thing. But I thought it was a very, very unique idea in what she's doing.
Well, but here's going to be her saving grace: community. They're going to go and start it, but her community is going to be committed. And this is, again, back to what I said at the beginning of this conversation. We're evolving as human beings. And part of that evolution is an awareness that when I go to a competitor for a lower price, I am destroying my community. If that woman was here and I signed up, I'll be there every week. In fact, there's two kids up the street. They knocked on my door last summer and asked to cut my lawn for $20. They've been cutting my lawn ever since, and we just upped the price to $30. And I love it that those two little boys come and cut my lawn, and their granddad is with them as the supervisor. But do you let somebody roll up here and say, "Hey, I'll cut your lawn"? Do you think I'm gonna say, "Nah, Danny, y'all fired. I'm gonna let this dude cut my lawn because he's giving me a better price"? No, we're community, and I believe that that's what's going to be our saving grace, because black folk know how to do community. We just got to now do it to make money.
Yeah. So that was a brilliant. I looked at that and said, "Why couldn't I come with an idea?" The truck. She's had the truck outfitted and everything with tanks for all three blends and everything, and hey.
I don't know if it sounds to me like she gonna have somebody gonna say something about regulations about riding around with gasoline inside the residential areas.
I think I do have a flammable label on it.
Okay, well if she's done if she's done whatever needs to be done, I'm all for that. I would love that. if you can create a subscription to buy razors on a monthly basis, certainly you can buy gasoline.
No, there are people doing innovative things. I know here in Durham, there's a group of folks. I think there might even be a sister that's involved with them and everything. But they are literally knowing that people are homeless and are in despair. So I know one that is you mentioned the dentist earlier. There's a mobile dental unit, but there's also a mobile laundromat, and they literally will roll up and help those people get their clothes washed, even if they are part of the unhoused or the homeless population. And that's been going on now, I think, for about a year, maybe 2 years.
And look, a bunch of brothers up here, they got mobile barbershops now.
Yeah, they got those here down here too. Yeah.
Yeah, they done got these big old vans and souped them out, and they come to you.
Yep.
And you might pay a little bit more money for it, but gosh, I mean, hey.
There was even a brother that I think I mentioned on one of our past shows. He had a mobile gaming room, and I think it was like one of those big, not like a bus, but like a SUV type thing that he retrofitted, and it basically he rolled into a neighborhood, and they can literally sit there on almost like a couch-like environment and play the video games in this outfit that he has retrofitted.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's I believe. Innovation. We opened the Miriam Arcuff Innovation Center here, named after my wife, for that very purpose. We want to help people who have innovative ideas to get them off the ground. And that link that I gave you, Mark, to the school community, the PS Factor school community, is going to take take it to the next level. And the app is called School, SKOOL. So a lot of individuals are setting up their own school communities, but what I want to do is bring us together so that we're not all buying the same tool and digging the same mountain, trying to all walk away with a pocket full of gold. I just want it to be like a big gold mountain that we can all own together. And I think we're headed in that direction.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We've had a lively discussion tonight.
Guys, I'm glad y'all invite me and keep asking me to come back. So that's a good sign.
Oh yeah. So we're trying to figure out how we can increase the revenue that's coming in and out of the Black community and make people entrepreneurs and get them a piece of the pie, because we deserve to have a piece of the pie. We're not there yet. We're working on it, but we're not there yet.
Yeah.
So we won't be on next Tuesday night. We'll be back on Tuesday night after next. And what we're going to start doing is coming on every other Tuesday night through the end of the year. Mainly because, I've got some medical treatments I got to take. And I don't know how I'm feeling each Tuesday after I finish taking them, Right. It's just part of the life's process that I got to go through, But, so I decided to do that, but we're going to keep this thing rolling, The next edition of the Urban Sentinel magazine will be out in August, the August-September edition. We're just going to keep things moving and try and make things happen.
Well, you know what? If I might make a suggestion, Mark, if you and I can do something on those Tuesdays that we're not on the air, let's make it let's do some action. Let's do some work. I think I'm praying for you, Reggie, that your health and your bounce back in 2026 is powerful, because that's the first year of the great wealth transfer, the first of the baby boomers giving up that money, and it's going to be something like $5 trillion a year for the next 20 years is coming, and it's going to be. I'm excited about it personally.
Yeah, we can look at doing something like that. I know right now the next couple of weeks will be reruns on that, just because that's what me and Reggie had arranged for. But we can look at possibly rolling out another show that's like your.
No. I wasn't thinking of a show. I was saying. Remember, I said we got to do some work off air when we got to get that, Reggie, what you're talking about, finding a way for us to come together. And what's beautiful about it is we've got a media outlet in Urban Sentinel. And I just started my company earlier this year. Well, last year I started it, but I just started bringing on partners and investors but I started Richard Cuff Multimedia, RCM Network, and the goal is to start, doing our own news, not from the standpoint of a news network to compete with the news. It would be more like when you see these like mini documentaries, right? Just in-depth stories of people in our community. Telling our story. We don't think about it. There's no show that you can turn on right now that every week is telling our story. You see? And so we've got to create it. And I don't mind if the other networks suddenly come steal the idea. Please come steal my idea, and y'all start telling our story as well. But we've got to take, Urban Sentinel to the next level. That, what's his name, Byron, dude that buying up all the radio television stations on the Weather Channel.
Yeah, Byron Donaldson.
Is it Donald Byron Donaldson?
Byron Allen. Byron Allen.
That's it, Byron Allen. Yeah, I love it. Dude bought a television show that came on at 2 a.m. That was like his first purchase, and from that little bitty crazy purchase, next thing you know, he's buying up the Weather Channel and suing major networks and growing. And so, Reggie, I ain't trying to put you to work when you're trying to find yourself a fishing pole and go chill, but we got to take Urban Sentinel we got a media outlet. Let's do it.
Hey, I can mix the two, okay?
All right.
Hey, look, technology. I can be on the boat with my iPad and my phone. I'll be all right.
Bro, there you go. AI is gonna take us there. So let's do that. Mark, I look forward to your call. Man, you got my number. Just give me a shout whenever you need to.
All right, sounds good.
Okay, everyone, It's been live tonight. We've had a great time talking about entrepreneurship and trying to move our community forward. Like I said, I'll see you next Tuesday night after next. And when everybody have a good next 2 weeks, be good to yourselves and be safe. We're out of here. Good night, everyone.
Later.